Hello, everyone. What's up? My name is Jeanette. I got a smoothie here. Obviously, I got some fruit. And today, we're going to talk to my friend Sherylea. Sherylea. And she is over at the Holistic Healer podcast. And I'm really excited because she's been raw for a while and she's already here. So she's on point. You guys might recognize her from an interview I did recently, and now it's her turn to be in the hot seat. So I'm excited. So let's bring her in. Okay. We gotta fix our angles. Hi, Boo. We gotta fix our angles. Hold on.
Our angles. Oh my goodness.
Okay, Sherylea.
Sherylea, yeah.
Sherylea. Right. Like Merrily, Sherylea. Yeah, something like that. Thank you so much for joining.
Of course.
And yes, I was grateful and so blessed to be on your podcast a few weeks ago. And everybody needs to go to your podcast, the Holistic Healer podcast,
the Holistic
right?
Healer, yeah.
And so today you're going to share some wisdom and experience with my audience. And so first of all, I want to start with food addiction, which is my biggest passion in life, helping people, especially women, break their food addiction. So can you tell us, did you ever have a food addiction or an eating disorder or any type of disordered eating?
Well, yeah. So before I got into this lifestyle, I'd say I was a total carb addict. So I was complex carbohydrates, donuts, cake, all of it. So my background is in figure and fitness competing. So I used to compete. And so it was so dysfunctional, the whole like eating and then restraining and then binge eating and then restraining to a point where like, you know, you're only taking in maybe 600-700 calories a day. Wow. So that developed a really bad relationship with food for me for a long time. So yeah, I do have experience with what it feels like to be completely controlled by food.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so now how long has it been since you've broken free from that?
Oh, it's been it's been from my competitor days. That's going back about like 20 years ago now.
Wow.
So it's been a long time. Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a real
long time. So how long have you been raw vegan or high raw vegan?
Well, okay. So I've started my raw vegan journey 30 years ago when I was 20. So told this story before. My ex-husband I met, and he just came back from chiropractic college, and I was a gym rat. You know, when I was 17 years old, I got my personal trainers and I taught aerobics, and I was in the gym scene. And he came into my life, and he was a raw foodist, and he was a extended water faster and all of these things that I'd never heard of. So I literally became a raw vegan in 24 hours, like just like that. So, it's been
the truth hit you. The truth hit you.
It's been a 30-year journey, but I have had my times in my life where I've gone completely off the chain and went all the way over to carnivore. I did keto, I did paleo. Of course, I dabbled in the bodybuilder bro kind of diet for a while I was competing, because I didn't believe that I could compete if I didn't do that. So I've kind of run the gamut over the last 30 years. But
after you went raw, you went keto and carnivore?
Yeah.
What's that like? What is that like?
That was, so during that time when I went carnivore, like I'd say that it was like a 5-year period where I was dabbling in all of these different diet protocols. In that time, I lost my appendix. I basically ended up getting a SIN3 diagnosis on my cervix, which was one step before becoming cancerous. So this was all in that time period. And when I got diagnosed with my cervical issue, that was like, for me, I did a 21-day detox kind of juice protocol. I used Dr. Morse's herbs. I did anything that I could. And I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to heal myself through foods, knowing what I know that I've learned through all of these years. And when I went back to the doctor, who wanted to send me to a gynecologist and have my cervix cut, which is typically what happens. And I said, no, I want to do this on my own. And when I came back, she said, everything's gone. Like I had it was gone, completely gone. So yeah.
How did
so
you
I definitely
do that from eating a raw vegan diet?
Yeah, I did a 21-day juice cleanse. I did the herbs. I ended up making like the heal all tea, and I ended up like basically douching with it, putting it up onto my cervix and then holding it. But yeah, it was amazing. So, and I've been doing raw vegan ever since. I'm like 99%. Like I will have, if I go out or something, I might have a little bit of steamed vegetables here and there, but that's about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that's amazing. So how long has it been now since you went back to raw?
It's been 4 years since because I was raw from the time I was 20 for 10 years straight. So from 20 to 30, then I started competing. Yeah. And then I was kind of off the chain for a few years, and then I came back to it again. And then I had all these health conditions, and then that eventually just led me back to.
What year did you go raw the first time?
Oh my gosh. So that would have been like 1997, or yeah, because my first son was born in 1998. So yeah, it was like 1997.
I mean, I just cannot even imagine how crazy and weird you were to most people in
My gosh.
1997.
It was insane, like, because there wasn't anything like there. I delved into the Herbert Shelton books. I ended up going to the TC Fry's Natural Hygiene Institute. So I went through that program back in the 90s. But yeah, it was like completely unheard of. I ended up, at the time, I remember buying Doug Graham's CDs, like it was in a book of CDs, and I would listen to them in the truck, right? Whenever I was driving the kids around, I would have Doug Graham, but all I could get my hands on were CDs at the time, right? Like there was no YouTube, there was nothing, no podcast, no nothing to listen to.
Yeah, back then, I feel that information was so much more valued, right? Because now it's just an overload of too much information. And back then, you were like, oh, you bought CDs, and like I remember mailing away for the Tony Robbins CDs and getting them in the mail, and getting them in the mail like a month later, and like, oh my God, this like prize valued information. And now it's like you can watch millions of Tony Robbins videos. Are you going to really even value any of them?
Yeah.
So yeah,
true.
I remember that.
It's true. It's true.
Same with music, you know what I mean? With the records and CDs we used to have, we used to actually like really value those things. Read the notes in the CD, and like, the artist would write like something like dedicating this album to people.
You pay more attention to the details, of things. And there was more value, if you purchase something, you put more value. Now everything's just kind of free, and you can start listening to somebody, and if within 10 seconds you don't like what they're saying, or you just don't have the bandwidth to actually listen to more than 10 seconds, then you can just turn it off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Meanwhile, okay, I don't want to stay too long on this, but like if you bought a CD back in the day and you didn't like the first song, you listened to the second song or the third song.
Exactly.
Like you spent money, so you like listen to that CD.
Exactly.
But anyway, I feel so bad for artists now, It's just like
I know.
So let me get back to your raw vegan journey. So now, what are some things that you wish you knew when you first went raw in all the way back then? What are some of the tips and tricks that you, like your top 3 things that you wish so bad you knew in the very, very beginning?
Yeah. So I think I wish that because my background is in fitness, and that's always been a big part of my life, I wish that I would have had more knowledge about being able to undertake something like doing a fitness or figure competition and not having to do the standard broccoli, rice, chicken, whatever, right? I wish that I had that knowledge, because there wasn't a lot of information when it came to implementing this diet and following a fitness program at a competitor's level. And so I did stumble across Dr. Doug Graham, but it was after the fact, kind of after I had retired from doing that. So I do wish that, I wish that there was more information about fitness, and now there is, but there wasn't back then. I also wish that there was more information about the quantity of food, you know, the amount of calories that you need to be able to feel like satiated. And so that the whole idea of like, oh my gosh, I've eaten 3 bananas, that's so much, and then being starving all the time, right? So I spent a lot of time being hungry a lot because I was still under the impression that it was too much, like too much fruit, too much, even back then. So I wish that there was more about that as well. And then probably back then, more of the, like, I always like to talk about, and I know Dan McDonald talks about this too, about the spokes on the wheel, that it's not just about diet. So, you know, going into hygiene teaches that it's not just about diet, because we have the sun and fresh air and emotionally healthy relationships and all of these things, but it wasn't really as available as it is now. The importance of all of those other things, like getting proper sunshine, you know, breathing fresh air, and also the emotional component, which I'm a big advocate for. So having healthy relationships, being in good communication, doing the work, these types of things. There was none of that back then either. So those would be the 3 things that I would have wished that I would have had on my journey. Yeah, like 30 years ago.
Yes. And so now, how much time do you spend outside, and how do you prioritize getting outside? Do you work out outside? Do you walk somewhere, like to work or something? How do you make that happen in your everyday life?
I walk pretty much everywhere. So I do go to the gym, or I'll go do yoga. I'll do these types of things that are inside, but I try to get in like between 10 to 12,000 steps a day. So usually I'll get out for at least 2 walks in the daytime, and then I'll just go outside and I'll, you know, go outside and read a little bit or do what I have to do, like on my iPad or whatever, just to make sure that I'm getting out there. Now, I live in the Pacific Northwest, which is not ideal for sunshine, especially
Where do you
like
live?
in Seattle. So it's
Seattle. Wow.
kind of
Okay.
cloudy, right? So it's hard in the winter months to feel like I'm getting enough sunshine. So try to get away, like go to Palm Springs, or, you know, do like little trips here and there to get some sun exposure. But I try to get outside as much as I can. I don't like being inside. I don't like it at all. So whenever I can get outside, I get outside.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Very important for our health. Now, do you work with clients one-on-one at the
I
moment?
do. I did. I do, and I will. It's something that, so I used to, after I finished my natural hygiene course through the Institute, I had a practice that I was helping people kind of start implementing raw foods and living more hygienically. But I haven't done that for a long time. And I started the podcast as a way to spread the word of health, holistic health. And it's a lot of work, as you probably know, to do a podcast, to prepare for the podcast, get the editing and all of those types of things. So it's something that I'm going to be focusing on a little bit more in the future. But as of late, I've just been really concentrating on getting my podcast out, get the best speakers that I can possibly have on my show, and that's kind of where my my attention is going right now.
Yeah. You had Dr. Robert Morse on recently. You
Yeah.
had Dan McDonald. Who are some of the people you've recently had on? You had amazing guests
Yeah, well,
recently.
I've had Dr. Aris Latham on. So I had him. I had Shane Sterling. I've had yourself, of course. Yes, I had Magdalena White, like Raw Coconut Girl, Dr. Morse, Dan McDonald twice. We did a part 1, part 2.
Yeah, because you can't have everyone that interviews Dan has 2 parts.
Right? Exactly.
You can't have it just
No, you
part one with Dan.
can't just have one part. Yeah. Gosh, I've got a few. I've got Sky Roar. She's going to be coming up soon. I just interviewed her. I also do have a few people on my podcast that aren't raw vegans because am holistic, and so some people, maybe they're not raw vegans, but they work in the breathwork arena, or they work, you know, doing more emotional release type of thing. So I've had Guy Finley on, he's like an OG when it comes, he's written like 50 books or something like that. So I've had him on. I've had Troy Casey on, who's a certified health nut. I've had him on. I've had a fella named Barbero on my show, who's a Czech certified holistic health practitioner. So I've had kind of, you know, not lots of raw vegan professionals, but others as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Guys, you got to check out her podcast. And now, what would you say is some advice for someone who would like to start a raw food diet? Where do they start? And what is like your top tip for people to like just start?
Just do it. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
so my type of personality, I'm not one to like tiptoe into things and like feel the water. Like, I'll just jump into it. So I feel personally, for me, and that's what's worked for me, is that if I want to do something, I'm just going to go into it like 1,000%. And so my best advice is, if somebody wants to do this, just do it. Like, I feel like sometimes if we keep our old habits, you know, we're still eating the foods that we're so desperately trying to get away from, and we're trying to implement more raw foods. It can sometimes like slow the process down because you're still keeping those addictions, you know, in the forefront. So I feel personally that if you want to do this, just do it. Like, jump in with both feet, and just, there's so much information like what we just talked about to you know. However, I know there's different ways of doing things, like Dr. Gabriel Cousens, for example, or Brian Clement. They're not looking at fruit as being the best thing, you know, at the top. They're going to be more like of the low carbohydrate vegetables. And then you have like Dr. Morse and Dan McDonald and Reese, for example. They're going to be more of high fruit content. So I think it's like sitting down and asking the question, like, what's your why? Why are you doing it? What are your goals? Do you have, you know, if someone who wants to be a raw foodist and they want to run a marathon, they may have a completely different the way that they're going to navigate this, as opposed to someone who's just going to work every day and doing like a sedentary computer job, for example. So
Good
yeah.
point. Yeah. I mean, let's just be honest. All the people that are really raw, like they're actually eating 100% raw, they're eating a high fruit diet. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
the people that are not raw, you know, like Brian Clement, he's 90% raw.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, 10% is probably where all he's getting his calories from, like either potatoes or
Yeah.
starches. Because like you can't really stay on a raw food diet without having a fruit-based focus, you know, with
Well,
having
yeah.
high fruit. Like, how do you eat? What is a typical day for you?
So for me, I get up in the morning and I normally will have like a drink, like a green drink in the morning. So I'll have like a green drink in the morning. I start my day off with that. Then I usually will go to the gym. And then when I get home, I'll usually have like a big bowl of fruit. Like, I try to keep it mono as best as I can. Like this morning I ate like a half a pineapple when I came home. So I'll eat some fruit. And then usually for me, like, I'll eat fruit pretty much throughout the day. I do use the Pure products, the Dan McDonald's products. So I will use some of those products, not every day, but intermittently I'll use them. And then usually at around like 3 or 4, I'll make a big salad. I like to eat. It's not like I'm trying to eat in a condensed window, but I just feel better if I stop eating earlier, because I go to bed pretty early. So it's usually like fruit for most of the day. I'll have my green drink. I'll always try to get like a juice in, one juice a day, and then a big salad. And within the salad, I'll have nuts and I'll put some avocado in it, and, you know, different vegetables, sprouts, that type of thing. But that's
Yes.
pretty much my day.
Very
I will
nice. And yeah.
I will say though, as I'm getting older, it's actually it's harder for me to get the calories in. Like, I just don't have the appetite that I used to have. Even though I'm really active, I just don't feel like I used to be like, oh, I can't wait for my big salad. And I would just like polish it within like, 10 minutes, it would be gone. And now it's really hard for me. Like I eat it, but it's not the same. My appetite has kind of decreased over the last, I don't know, the last couple of years, I think really. So I don't know how many calories I'm eating in a day. I never track my food. I just kind of eat when I'm hungry, but that's one thing I've noticed after I hit 50 was that my appetite started to go down. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I would actually look forward to that. I know it's hard when you're in it, right? I'm sure I'll be like complaining about it if it happens, but like I'm hungry. Like I can eat so much and like I would love to like I actually truly have to at 8 o'clock, I have to say, okay, Jeanette, you are done. You are full.
Yeah.
Like I am full, but I could still eat,
Yeah.
and like I just love to
Yeah.
eat. And so
I used to be like that.
I have to consciously make
Yeah.
tea. I make chamomile tea now and say, that's it, brush your teeth and you're done. And I
Yeah.
have to distract myself.
Yeah. For sure.
Especially
Yeah.
if you don't eat a lot during the day.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry.
I do try to, because I'm still resistance training and, keeping lean muscle mass is really important to me. So, I've got a good resistance training program that I follow and I'm really committed to that. And so just trying to have enough calories to support that is, is important. You're aging as well, right? Like we know that as we're aging, we can be prone to like sarcopenia. We don't want to lose our muscle mass as we're getting into our older ages. So it becomes more important to keep that lean muscle mass as you're getting older, for sure.
And you need calories for that. Everyone thinks you need protein for that. And you're into fitness. You have lean muscle and you're very healthy, obviously, and you work out a lot. So can you talk about how and where do you get your protein? It's such a stupid question.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for sure.
I'm
So,
sorry.
for me, like, I do have, like, as far as the greens go, right, like big salad, there is protein in that. But I do use the Puridyne products. So I am using the protein, the with the Lifezyme. So I do use that. And then
And where's that? What's in that?
So it's goji berry, pea, and I think hemp are the three proteins in that. And then I also use a Purium. It's another product that is it's considered raw. It's low below 18 degrees is heated. So I do use Purium products, which is just a green product. It's got like super lots of nutrients in it. So I mix that usually every day as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, so I wanted to ask you about, so I asked you a little bit about like, do you coach and do you take one-on-one clients? And the reason I asked really is because can you tell me some of the testimonials that you've had over the years and things that you have seen with your own eyes, people reversing? You reversed health issues. What kind of health issues have you seen other people, friends, families, clients reverse with a high raw or 100% raw diet?
So I've seen diabetes type 2. That's been a big one. High blood pressure, that's been really easily reversed. Obviously, excess weight, that's easily reversed by eating this way. Joint issues is another one, like chronic joint issues. Those would be the main ones. I've never had any firsthand experience myself working with someone who has cancer or something like that. But yeah, high blood pressure. Arthritis is another one. That's another one that can be helped greatly through eating this way as well. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I don't really know how this works on the internet if we're allowed to say these things, but the truth is that I have helped many, many women reverse their cancer. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, well,
but that's the truth. I don't know if I am. I don't know if I'll be gone tomorrow. But just so you guys know, yeah, I had somebody with stage 4 breast cancer in my course. She completely reversed it. The tumor is completely gone. And it took about 4 months. And, we don't even know how fast it shrunk because that's the time that she had the x-rays, 4-month time period. But I just want you guys to know that anything is possible. Anything. I have seen it all. And stage 4 breast cancer was the most serious, but I have seen people that were blind, going blind, and now they are And, you know, like Dr. Sebi got in trouble for that, saying that he could cure blindness. And I'm
Right.
not saying that I can cure anything or, you know,
Yeah,
the
you
raw
just,
food diet. Right. But basically, I've seen a lot of really serious things be reversed. So, yeah, just so you guys know, very, very powerful what we are doing here. And so now, can you please tell me what is your best tip on how to be raw no matter what? So the holidays are coming up.
mm,
What is your best tips on how to survive birthday parties, weddings, the holiday dinners as a raw vegan?
well, be prepared and have food with you. Like you know, have that cooler, bring food with you. And that goes for like any time, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're out, if you're going to out with friends to a restaurant, it's like bring your own food. Be prepared so that you're not tempted or you're going somewhere where you're starving and you're feeling like, oh, you know, you just have to eat something because you're so hungry. So it's really easy, honestly. I mean, it's just being prepared, doing the right things to make sure that you're looked after. Look after yourself first, in the sense that even if you have a family, for example, you know, make the food for yourself first before you make it for your family. And then, you know, you can bring that out, but it's done. And that way, when everyone's sitting down to eat,
Yeah.
whether that's for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, you're not now going to have to prepare something. It's all done for you. So I think it's just a matter of preparation, honestly,
Yes,
for success.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for
In
sure.
everything in life too,
Yeah,
right? I
absolutely.
mean, it's not just the raw food diet.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you ever emotionally eat or binge on food?
You know what? I never did. So when I get emotional, I don't eat. So I'm the opposite. I know, right? I know. My
I
daughter's
know
like
it's
that
not
too.
I know it's not easy too because you know somebody can lose a lot of weight and be really
Mhm.
frustrated and struggling with that. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not easy.
Yeah, I just don't eat. My appetite just shuts down completely. So I'm not one of those that has the emotional eating. But you know what? But it's equally as um dysfunctional, really, because you know you're not eating for days if you're stressed out about something and you're exhausted and you're not getting the proper nutrients in and you're not sleeping properly and all of these things. So I mean, it's yeah, you might not have the weight gain that you're going to get if you're an emotional eater, but you're going to have the weight loss, and that's not cool either. So
No, it's not. There are sometimes women who join my courses and they're struggling to gain weight. And I have to
mm,
tell you, for you know, for somebody like me who's never, ever,
right.
ever struggled, like I'm struggling to, you know, lose weight and stop eating emotionally. And so for somebody that really, really wants to gain weight, I have to tell you, it is much harder to gain weight than to lose weight. It really is. It
Hmm.
really, really is, you know. Um, I've seen it firsthand. So I just want everyone to know, like, we all wish, oh, I wish that I could not eat when I'm stressed. But
Yeah,
like, you got to be careful what you wish for. And the grass is always greener on the other side.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So Tessa said, I always wished I had that. Yeah. She just said, I always wish I had that problem, not eating when I'm feeling sad. Yes.
Yeah.
But guess what, Tessa? You have things that people wish they had. And we, you know,
Yeah,
we're always looking at everybody else. So, you know, you have straight hair, you really want curly hair.
totally.
You know, you have black hair, you want
Yeah.
blonde hair. And it's just like,
It's
we
just the
have to
human
stop.
condition, right? We always want something that we don't have. We, like you said, we always think it's better on the other side. And then sometimes we get it and it's just a train wreck, right?
Yeah. It's just, yeah. It's like, there's problems to, everyone has problems and everybody has stress and we got to stop comparing ourselves. So now, can you tell me how do you deal with online criticism or even just criticism within your own community, family, friends, you know, being a raw vegan, it's not
Mm,
exactly common. So
yeah.
how do you deal with people that are just like telling you this is not healthy, it's too much sugar, and all these things out there?
Well, do you know what? I honestly feel like because I have like good boundaries around what I'm doing, I don't really get that a lot anymore. I don't get like as far as like comments and that type of thing. Like I don't really read a lot of comments, honestly. And if there is a crappy comment, then I don't. It's just it rolls out. I don't. It's not about me. It's about the person who's leaving the comment. So I don't take it personally. Um, and yeah, as far as friends and family, I mean, my friends and family know that this is who I am. This is how I eat. They have seen me go on the other side of things as well. Like my children, for example, have seen me kind of do the roller coaster ride when it comes to diet over the years. But they also respect that this is my life and my journey. And I don't have a lot of controlling people in my life. So I feel like it oftentimes that comes from people trying to, you know, micromanage you or control you. And oftentimes it's because we allow it to a certain degree, right? So I feel like I have good boundaries up in terms of like what I know is right for my body. And we're all unique and we're on all on our own journey in this life. And so I try to stay as non-judgmental as possible when dealing with people. And then I just ask for the same in return, right?
Yeah.
So I used to get it all the time. When I was in my 20s and I was doing this, I was like the protesting raw vegan. I was on the street with the sign, you know, it was like really, I mean, I had the David Wolf sticker on my car at the time. Cooked food is poison. And it got like, so people would be like, what do you mean cooked food is poison? Like, and I used to drive around with that all the time. So I feel like there's an energetic that can invite that in to your life when you're kind of in that state, in that mental state, if that makes sense. So I'm so much more just relaxed about it now. It's not really, it doesn't come up honestly for me. People just know how I eat, and for the most part, I think they respect that, and I respect what they do. So
Yes, yes. And Daniel has a question, but Daniel, can you ask the question in another way? Because I don't understand the question. So ask it in another way, if you can. And so yes, what is your favorite book on the raw food diet? If you could recommend only one book.
Oh my goodness. If I could only recommend one book, I mean, honestly, the book that I love right now that I've loved over the last little while is Dr. Morse's book, his detox book. The name's escaping me right now. I
didn't even know he had a book.
Yeah, he's gonna have two. So he's got a new one coming out really soon.
Oh.
And then the one that I think it's called the Detox Miracle Source Book. I think that's what it's called. And I love that book because he goes through, you know, historically, you know, how we came to be, like, he talks a lot about like the frugivore species, and he kind of starts it out like that, but then he goes through all different kind of detox protocols. And I really love that book. It's like a reference book. And of course, all the Herbert Shelton books were amazing as well. Bernard Jensen, I had some of his books, you know, those were all, Morris Kroc. Some of the older books were the best books.
Yes, like movies and music
too.
All right. So now we have some questions, but I have a question. What are 3 of your non-negotiables that you have to do daily?
Non-negotiables. Okay, so biting, I've just had a really terrible knee injury, so it's really kind of fracked me up in what I've been able to do. But usually movement is like a non-negotiable for me, so I've got to move my body every day. I have to get outside at least once a day for sure. And my most recent non-negotiable is that I got to have a juice every day as well. So I make like usually a green juice with parsley, like the lemon ginger blast is what I've been having. The parsley, cilantro, cucumber. Yeah. So.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah.
And last question from me, and then I'll ask the audience questions. As a raw vegan, how do you care for your teeth? A lot of people have dental issues, it seems, on a raw vegan diet, although most people have dental issues, like most humans, but they say fruit ruins your teeth. Can you tell us, how do you care for your teeth, and have you had any teeth issues on the raw vegan diet?
So my journey started 30 years ago, and I was very high fruit, like all through that time. I've been, you know, like 30 years, and I don't have one cavity in my mouth. So I'm 51 and I still don't have a cavity.
Okay.
So
I have to say that has to be genetics. Like you have to, or how did you grow up eating?
I grew up eating I was a very, very picky eater, like super picky. And I never ate dinner with my parents were always eating. I'm the only child. And so they would eat later at night, like at 8 o'clock. And so my mom would always like put me in front of the TV with like a TV tray. And she just cut me up like carrots, cucumber, celery. I'd always have dairy though. I was a big dairy eater throughout my childhood. So I'd have like cottage cheese or something like that. But I never really ate meat growing up. Like it was something that I might have a little bit at like Thanksgiving or Christmas, but generally speaking, I didn't like it and my parents didn't make me eat it.
How about candy or soda?
I wasn't allowed candy or soda.
Okay. So
Yeah.
everybody watching, you need to go back into time and you need to not eat candy or drink soda because you see, I believe, I mean, and trust me, the raw food diet has totally helped my teeth.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have every single tooth in my mouth has had a cavity. Every single tooth. And why? Because for 26 years, I ate candy and I drank soda every single day. So like it's not the raw food diet that's going to ruin your teeth. It's the first 25 years of your diet is what is going to determine your teeth.
Totally.
Yeah. And genetics too, right?
Genetics too. I mean, I did go through, like I said, there was a time in my life where I was a complex carbohydrate addict. I liked all the sweets and everything, but that was like a little bit later on, like my developmental years. I wasn't allowed pop. I wasn't allowed candy. Even at Halloween, I was allowed like one candy out of my bag, like every day. I still had like candy left a year later.
Oh my God. That is some good parents right there.
Yeah. So they were, for example, with cereal, like I wasn't allowed any of like the Cocoa Pops or Count Dracula or whatever, but I was allowed like shredded wheat, even though, right? It was like, to them, that was like
shredded wheat.
Yeah, shredded wheat was good, but like Cocoa Pops were a no-no. So I know that they were thinking that they were doing the best they could.
And they did.
They did. Yeah.
All of our parents did, right?
Yeah,
right? Even my mom, who didn't ever limit me. I ate whatever I wanted since, whenever I could decide.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought she was doing the best she could. And she was doing the best she could with the tools that she had.
Exactly.
So now we have some questions from the audience. Okay. Sherry says, I may have missed this part, but did she eat animal products during her bodybuilding days? Yes, Sherry, you missed this part. Go back and watch the beginning, Sherry. It'll be on YouTube later. Okay. The Go Vegan. Yep. Asks, please ask her. Okay. I wanted to ask you this question too, but I didn't want to put you on the spot, but they asked, please ask, did she have a particular favorite interview you conducted on your podcast? And is there anyone that you want to interview that you haven't yet?
Ooh, thank you. That's a really good question. So I have to say, for me, I mean, I love all my interviews. They all bring like different like spices and I love them all. But because I am such an emotional in the way of like I have a background in psychotherapy, and so I really like getting into like the emotional issues. I like talking about the shadow work. I like talking about all of these different things. So for that, Dan McDonald part one was amazing because we just spent it was almost 3 hours, our first interview, and it was all about emotional stuff, like literally we talked about diet for maybe like 10 minutes and that was it. So that was like one of my favorite, and also it was like almost 3 hours, which was beautiful. I know a lot of people don't have the time to put into that, but yeah, it was pretty amazing.
I mean, listen, people, they're prioritizing what they're prioritizing. You know what I mean? Like me, you drive somewhere for an hour, you drive home. That's 2 hours right there.
Yeah.
Me, I'm going to be running or walking or doing some type of exercise. That's another hour right there. I'm going to be cleaning the dishes and making dinner. That's another hour right there. You know what I mean? Like people have the time. They just like prioritize it,
Yeah.
They prioritize differently.
Yeah.
And so Tessa wants to know what shadow work is. Well, I'd recommend you check out Teal Swan. She'll tell you all about shadow work.
Yeah.
Right?
Good one. Totally.
Yeah. So now another question before we go. Guys, if you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, somebody asked me a question, just email me. Okay, this is kind of an odd question, but hey, we're gonna answer it. I feel like this is spam, but what do you think the role of the woman is in the relationship?
Mm.
What kind of question
I don't
is
know.
this?
I like that question actually.
Okay, yes, please answer.
Yeah, just because like right now there's like so much focus on the masculine and the feminine, and as far as the role of the feminine, I believe is the creative. It's the creativity within the, if we're talking about within the container of a relationship, it's the creative force. It's the birthing of new ideas. It's the nurture. It's the, you know, the lover. It's all of these different things that we can think about. But I think in the container, and I've talked about this on my podcast before, about the whole feminist movement. And if anyone wants to look more into that, I talked about that with on my interview with Troy Casey. And if anyone's interested in that subject, Kelly Brogan is really great. She covers a lot of the whole feminist movement and where we kind of went astray as women, kind of coming into that movement and why that all started. It started with the Rockefellers, and so I'll bring more taxpayers into you know, the pool. So, and there's a laundry list of things. So I would recommend looking at Kelly Brogan's work. She does a lot of she's got a lot of videos on that. But yeah, I think what I had just mentioned, I think that those are some really beautiful things that the feminine brings into the container of a relationship.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
That was beautifully said.
Yeah.
And so I want to say thank you. Thank you
Yeah, of
so
course.
much for being
Yeah.
here. You're awesome. You're so knowledgeable. And I love how authentic and honest you are,
Thank you.
and how long you've been on the path, you know,
Yeah,
in the
thank you.
lifestyle, and you have so much experience and knowledge. And yeah, I feel like I could ask you anything and
Yeah,
you would answer.
I
So I
would.
love that.
I would.
So I have a really cool day today. I have you, and now I'm going to be live on YouTube with Chef Babette.
Ooh,
So
how sweet
everybody
is that? Oh, I
join
love
me.
it.
Yes, join
Amazing.
me in 15 minutes on
Ooh,
YouTube with Chef
sweet.
Babette. And I'll put this on YouTube as well, and I'll leave all the links below to
Thank
Sherylea.
you.
Sherylea?
Yes.
Sherylea. Yeah, I don't know any other
Okay.
Sherylea.
I
I'll
know.
leave all the links, and you got to check out her podcast. She has amazing guests. I've been on her podcast,
Thank
so I'll
you.
leave that below too.
Yeah.
And yeah, what is the very last thing I want to ask you is, what is one message that you'd like to share with the world that you don't, that you didn't mention so far in this episode? What is one thing that you really think is very important for people to focus on or be aware of in the world today?
Do the emotional work.
Mm.
Do the work. And there's many platforms to find out what the work is, but I truly, truly, truly believe that we can't fully step into our authenticity, the journey of becoming an authentic person and what that means, without actually taking a deep dive into transcending all of our emotional wounding that we all have. So whether we think we have it or we don't have it, we do have it, and it needs to be unpacked and looked at. And yeah, so I think that that's one thing. Everyone has to do that work.
Yes. And
Mhm.
you know what? We'll leave with this. If you are interested in working with Sherylea, you can reach out to her. I'll leave the link below. And if you're interested in working with me, starting in 6 days on October 1st, you can sign up for the Food Addiction Freedom course, where we do lots of this really uncomfortable work of releasing false beliefs, reprogramming our subconscious, and learning how to truly love ourselves and take care of ourselves. Because when you love yourself, you truly start to take really, really good care of yourself.
Yeah,
Okay. You start to treat yourself the way you treat somebody you love.
totally.
Okay. Somebody you love, you wouldn't stuff them to capacity. You wouldn't make them eat things they don't really want to eat that make them sick. You don't deprive them of sunlight or exercise or deep breathing, or yoga. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You take care of them and you do things that make them feel good. So if you're interested, I'll leave the information below. I start October 1st, and you can be one of the women. How do you join? Latoya, send me an email, jd@misfitvegan.com. Oh, Latoya's not, that's my friend. Latoya, sorry. I will message you, but jd@misfitvegan.com. My email is in my link in my bio. Okay, thank you so much, Sherylea,
Bye.
and you're amazing. And I'll see
Thank
you
you.
soon.
You too. Bye.
Bye, boo.